Hello, Bradley here. Thought I would do a little vinyl tag for 2022. This is my fourth vinyl tag. I kind of looked it up in my old videos. First one was in 2019. So each year I go through this, I watch one or two videos, and I think, oh, I don't know. I can't think of what I can pull from my collection. Well, it just takes sitting down and thinking, and it was a snap. So, let's get started. Question number one. What is your favorite album that you purchased in 2021? That's really hard because usually it's one of the last albums that I bought would be my favorite. But this holds up throughout the whole year. This is a 3-album trifold set by Amy Winehouse, live at the BBC. This is all live by Amy Winehouse. I love Amy Winehouse. A hell of a singer. She left us way too early. All these songs are recorded excellently, fantastic performances, and her voice is fantastic. So, Amy Winehouse, album of the year that I bought. Okay, next question. Show an album by the first person you saw live. Actually, I do not have an album by that person, so I will pass on that. But it was Joe Walsh in 1973. The album that had Rocky Mountain High on it. Yeah, Rocky Mountain Way. Anyhow, well, so that was my first concert. I do not have a Joe Walsh album. Question number 3. Show an album by a duo. I think I got this last year. 2 guitarists on here. I'm sure it's probably avant-garde. 2 excellent guitarists. Name of the album is Room, and it is Nels Cline and Julian Lage. Julian Lage, a jazz guitarist, and Nels Cline, he's the guitarist for Wilco. He's been in Wilco for probably 20 years or so. Just 2 guitars, and they're playing a lot of times 2 completely different things, but they match. Really good album. And that was from last year. Okay, question number 4. Show an album in the shrink. Actually, this is not that old of an album, but I left it in the shrink. I'm starting to do that a lot more. It's like, why should I get another sleeve and put on top of this? It's kind of crazy. But anyhow, this was Sam Rivers, Contrasts, Jazz Avant-Garde. I'm not sure, in the 70s. No, it says 1980. This is on ECM. Avant-garde, free-ish type, but boy, does this sound good. It's like an audiophile quality record. Okay, number 5, show a concept album. This album was released in 2013, I believe. It is Steven Wilson, and the name of it is Steven Wilson, The Raven That Refused to Sing. Prague. Steven Wilson was in Porcupine Tree, and he does a lot of remasters. Excellent engineer. This was engineered by Alan Parsons. I don't have a lot of Prague in my collection. Got a couple Genesis and some ELP, some other stuff, but not a huge amount. Anyhow, this is fantastic. Sound-wise, of course, Alan Parsons and Steven Wilson. Sounds fantastic. Now, this is a concept about the supernatural. So it's got 2 albums in here. So each of these songs, they're different, so they don't match in that concept. But the concept is about the supernatural. So each one of these songs tells a story, and they are really good stories. This album sounds amazing. It really does. Fantastic. So I think it's a concept album. Just think of the Twilight Zone. They had separate episodes and put it into the Twilight Zone series. Something like this. The Raven That Refused to Die. Stephen Wilson. Next one. Number 6. Show an album you have not played yet. Every album I have, I play it. And the ones I get recently, I play the crap out of them. So I don't have any to show. Number 7. Show an artist you discovered in 2021. Actually, it was either 2021 or 2020. It was during the pandemic. This guy would have many times a week at night a YouTube broadcast from his living room. Emmett Cohen, jazz pianist. Name of this is Future Stride. This came out either 2021 or I think right before the pandemic. Emmett Cohen is a fantastic, one of the best jazz pianists today. Excellent stuff. Highly recommend that. Number 8, show a live album. Now this album, I usually play it probably about 4, maybe 5 times a year, but it's one of my favorites. You just got to be in the mood for this because it's best if you play the whole thing. Keith Jarrett, live in Clun. Solo improvisation in concert. If you're not familiar with this album, just check it out on Wikipedia or something. It's got a fantastic story behind it. So, fantastic album. Okay, question number 9. Show an album from a different continent. Okay, how about Europe? How about Northern Europe? How about way northern? Let's talk about Norway. Marius Nesset, a young saxophone player. I'm not sure how I first discovered him, but I found out I really liked this album and some of his others, but they're kind of hard to get in the U.S. They're on the ACT. But I had a friend from Norway, Knut, and before the pandemic, he would come over to the U.S. probably 3 or 4 times a year. So I asked him if he would buy this album and bring it to me, and he did. So thank you, Knut. Okay, question number 10. Show an album with a price sticker on the jacket. This has got, of course, the shrink, which it has shrunk. It's like you put a pair of jeans in, it keeps getting shorter. It's Center Field by John Fogerty. See how short that shrink is? Anyhow, it's got a price sticker on here. I bought this probably when it came out, 84, 85 probably. It is $7.96. I'm not sure where I bought it at. I don't know. John Fogerty. Question number 11. Show a punk or new wave album. Actually, during that era, I was buying quite a few new wave albums, so it was kind of hard to pick. But this album, I always did like. It'd be considered new wave. And we're talking about Rockpile, Dave Edmunds and Nick Lowe. This is a fantastic album, and it does come with the 7-inch 45 with actually four songs on here. Everly Brothers songs. Two on each side. This is just acoustic. Dave and Nick Lowe. So Rock Pile. That was probably 81, I'm going to say. Somewhere around there. Number 12, show a box set. I very rarely buy a box set. In fact, I bought two this past year, and those were my first two that I ever really bought. And so this one, I am a Beatles fan, and actually this album was probably one of my least favorites, but it was one of those albums that came out when I was young, when I actually had a record player, and I bought it currently. So it has, and at this time the Beatles were going through, you know, their breakup stage. We're talking about the Let It Be box set. It's got probably 4 or 5 LPs in here. Fantastic. Like I said, it's never been one of my favorite albums, but this is so damn interesting. And of course, I watched the Disney production, Get Back. So we're up to number 13. Show an album with a sporting theme. I used to participate in this sport, but not anymore because I was so crappy. Okay, we're talking about Hampton Halls with Barney Kessel, Shelly Manne, and Red Mitchell. Or on contemporary, I think late 50s, that West Coast jazz sound. Really good, good West Coast jazz. So we're up to number 14. Show a jazz album. Haha. Anymore, probably 90% of my purchases are jazz. I've just gotten into it, really like it. So this, I bought last year. I think it came out early in the year. Dalvon Lamar Organ Trio. I Told You So. On Coal Mine Records. Their packaging is always fantastic. A couple years ago, I had heard the KEXP, which I think that's what's playing in the background right there. There's Dalvon Lamar. And so I got that album. And I was going to get tickets to see him in concert. And that's when the pandemic hit, so they canceled the show. And anyhow, when I bought this album, like I said, I really love this group, Organ Trio. I comment on this album on one of my videos, and Dalvon Lamar, he made a comment. He was like extremely gracious. He said, "Hey, thanks a lot," you know, and I kind of replied back. I said, "No, thank you." And I've seen interviews and all that, and this group, they're just down-to-earth people. Just a really, really good people. Okay, we're up to number 15. Show a best of album. This is the best of Cannonball Adderley. Unfortunately, this is out of print. They should put this back in print. This is a killer album. It's got some live cuts along with studio, but it's like really kind of like right in your face. Just sounds gorgeous. Fantastic pressing, whatever this one is. Okay, we're up to number 16. Show an album with at least 8 people on the front. I've shown this album a few times before. This is actually my first album I ever bought. My first true album. Blood, Sweat, and Tears album. The first one with David Clayton Thomas. Well, it's got 9 people on the front. The band, Blood, Sweat, Tears. Fantastic album. This copy I bought when it came out and still sounds gorgeous. Okay, number 17, show a soundtrack album. I probably have 1 or 2. Well, yeah, now that I'm thinking, yeah, I probably do have 1 or 2 others, but this kind of came to mind. It is not one soundtrack album, but it's a compilation. I got this last year. It's by Ennio Morricone, called Morricone Segreto. 2 albums in here. So this has got cuts from many of his movies. I think the majority of these are maybe during the 70s. Sounds really good. Okay, we're up to number 18. Show some VCLT. A couple years ago, I got this. It was around Christmas, probably November. Bill at the Vinylverse. Great guy, even though he does like Genesis. No, I like Genesis, but whatever. Anyhow, he sent this to me, a Dave Brubeck Christmas. And this is just Dave playing Christmas songs. Very nice holiday album. Got some good songs on there. Okay, we're up to number 19. Show an album with no writing on the jacket. Let me see if there's any on the back. Well, actually, there's hardly any on the back either. And this came out in, when, 71 or 70? You didn't need to say who it was by. John and Yoko, the Plastic Ono Band. Because there's John and Yoko. Fantastic album. I love it. And when this came out, they also had the one by put out by Yoko, which they had the position switch. Yoko was leaning against a tree, I think, and John was leaning against Yoko. So, no words. Okay. Number 20. Show a 45 or a 7-inch single. Okay. This is from 1985. And the group is called Major. There we go. On the Walita record label. This was a band I was in. I wrote one song and co-wrote the other one. I cannot listen to it nowadays. Several things wrong with it, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyhow, we recorded this at in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The guy's name was Chuck Surak, or Surak. Anyhow, he had a studio in his house. He went on to form Sweetwater Sound, which is the largest music retailer in the United States. You know, guitars, amps, recording equipment, anything to do with music, they sell. They have a huge store in Fort Wayne. He just blew that business way up. So, at least I can say I know Chuck. Okay. Number 21, show a colored vinyl album. Got this a couple years ago. It was Record Store Day. And I don't know if I knew it was colored vinyl or not. But I wanted the album. It is a very nice pressing of the Monterey Pop Festival. 2 albums. Got Hendrix, Mamas, Papas, all the big ones at the Monterey Pop Festival. And the albums are really cool. Kind of a, I don't know what you call it. It's not a swirl, but a orangish, I don't know. Who knows what you call it. So the record store day release was colored vinyl, and it was numbered. I'm not sure how many they made. Not a huge amount. I'm not sure if it was 1,000 or 1,500. Anyhow, this is number 777. Lucky, lucky, lucky. I feel lucky I got this album. I really do. Okay, we're getting close to the end. This is the last question. Number 22. Show an album from 1982. I have a few albums, but I thought I would show this one. I got it in a antique store a couple years ago, and it was like $2. $2. Donald Fagen, The Nightfly, 1982. So I figured, well, it's probably not going to be the best, but for $2, anyhow, I get it home, and it's just a spotless album. And this album was probably one of the best ever recorded albums in music. So, hey, sounds great. So that wraps up the vinyl tag for 2022. I've been watching a few others. I just started commenting on some of them, so I'll keep an eye out for others. So, hope you enjoyed this. And until the next time, goodbye, and I'll see you then. See ya.